Welcome. We ask for the courtesy of the board members, staff, and those that are participating telephonically that you please silence your cell phones. Good evening and welcome to the Orange County School Board's regularly scheduled meeting for Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Board members are attending in person and or telephonically, so I will take a roll call. Chair Jacobs.
Present.
Thank you. Welcome, Chair Jacobs. Member Samanaka.
Present.
Member Ferrant.
Good evening.
Member Gould.
Good evening.
Member Felder.
Good evening. It's Terrific Tuesday.
Thank you, Member Felder. Member Dr. Castor Dental.
Good evening.
Member Byrd. Good evening. And good evening for myself. I wanted to remind the public that board members will not be engaging in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting, so we can focus on the meeting itself, giving our attention to the matters immediately before us. Should you want to contact us, please continue to do so before or after each meeting. To my fellow board members, district staff, and members of the public, when speaking, please make sure your microphone is turned on and speak directly into it so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. Again, thank you so much for participating in or attending tonight's meeting. Now we will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we are on to recognitions. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight for tonight's school board meeting. We have some remarkable recognitions that I would like to acknowledge before we discuss tonight's order of business. First, we have a very special recognition by the Florida School Board Attorneys Association. The FSBAA has been providing the attorneys who represent Florida's 67 school districts and specialty schools with a forum for the exchange of ideas and information for more than 50 years. Each year, the association honors a Florida School Board attorney with the C. Graham Carruthers Award of Excellence. I'd like to invite our General Counsel, Amy Enval, to provide us with more information on the accolade and introduce a FSBAA representative who will be presenting the award to one of our own from the OCPS Office of Legal Services this evening. Ms. Enval?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you're aware, the attorneys in our office are all members of the FSBAA, and we regularly communicate with our counterparts in other Florida districts, and we meet quarterly for continuing education. We often refer to ourselves as the largest law firm, education law firm in the state, though we have different entities to which we report. As you've indicated, each year, the association honors a Florida School Board attorney with the C. Graham Carruthers Award of Excellence for presenting the highest standard in the profession as exemplified by the accolade's namesake, who is one of FSBA's founder and served as the attorney at the Leon County School Board for 35 years. I proudly mentioned to you after our November FSBAA meeting that Mr. Palmerini was selected by our peers as this year's recipient, and he has invited his family and some distinguished guests for the award presentation tonight. To present this award, during which you'll hear more about Mr. Palmerini and his contributions to FSBAA, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Frank Kruppenbacher, who is a member of the Florida School Board Attorneys Association. Mr. Kruppenbacher is the former general counsel for the School Board of Orange County, and he's currently the school board attorney for the Osceola County School Board. It is a full circle event for him to be back before the School Board of Orange County tonight to make this honorable presentation to Mr. Palmerini. And Mr. Kruppenbacher, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Andel. Madam Chair, members of the board, I am really, truly honored to be able to be here tonight to present this award from my colleagues who belong to the Florida School Board Attorneys Association. Many of you probably don't know this, but I met John Palmerini when the mayor of Apopka asked me if I would allow a young man who was a reporter for the Apopka Chief to intern with me because he was going to be going to law school. Imagine a public attorney saying, "Oh, I'd love to have a reporter in my office all the time." Right? And of course, Mayor Land, I never said no to, and thus I met John Pomerany, and when we both met, we both had a heck of a lot more hair, I can tell you. I mean, just a lot more hair. But John came, interned, and then when he graduated from law school, he had fell in love that summer with education law. He wanted to come work full-time. And I said to him, "John, I have a duty to you. I am so busy, I don't have the time to train you. I want you to go work for a private firm and get trained." And he did that. He went to work for probably one of the best employment lawyers in the state and learned. And then when Kat and I decided to expand, I called John and said, "Are you ready to come?" And he came. And that's the history of how John gets to the Orange County Public Schools. But let me talk about John Pomerany, who I'm proud of. I've practiced for 45 years. I know of no lawyer with a higher degree of ethics and integrity than this young man. His loyalty to his client, you, his integrity is outstanding. It's beyond question. His knowledge of the law is so good that you would see emails. The Florida School Board attorneys email all day each other, and I'm always emailing, "Ask John, let's have John research it. John will know the answer," and he always knows it. That's how trusted he is with the Florida School Board attorneys. I always tell him the reason I ask him if something goes wrong, I can turn to the board in Osceola and go, "It was John's fault. He told me that was the answer," right? But I'll sum up by telling you, there's a favorite quote of mine. Newt Rockne, the legendary Notre Dame coach, when he was talking to his team one time, told them to be men of honesty, of high ideals and integrity, and win the clean glory of an unblemished name. And that's what John's done. And you are very, very fortunate to have him. And the colleague, and there, it's very difficult to win this award, but I think what it shows you is the school board attorneys across the state unanimously agree with the quality of John as a person, which is what I'm even more proud of, but also his contributions to the advancement of school law have been invaluable for all of us. And so with that, I'll present the award to John Pomerany, and I'll leave you with this. I think Ms. Gordon may want to say a few words, or she'll hit me if you'll allow her. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Gordon, please. It's so good to have you back with us. We've missed you. We've missed you, Dr. Gordon.
Since the great attorney Kruppenbacher cut his speech short. I love it. He had much more to say. But either we said that this law firm, one of the largest in the state, would be either Kruppenbacher, Gordon, or Pomerany. But it looked as if it's going to probably be Pomerany, and then we'll have a little plaque somewhere. But I want you to know the most proudest thing about this person, I grew up with his family, but it's just, he's going to have you all to stand, but just stand. Will you just stand, all of John's family, his son, his daughter, his mother, his father, his aunt, his uncle, the educators, the teachers, the auto car, all of us, stay, believe, stay. You will not know this, but I knew when everybody retired. I knew when everybody was born, even the ones that are younger than me, because John kept us very much informed with his family, because a lot of his time was dedicated to learning. The nicest thing that I want to give to his parents, you allowed John to attend an Orange County public school and come back and work with Frank Kruppenbacher and Woody Rodriguez and this outstanding new board and the former boards under Blocker and under Dr. Jenkins, and kept us out of the newspapers. He did an exceptional job. So I really want to say that I am so proud of him. He is like more than a son to me. I will love him until the end. We have spent endless time together. John has defended teachers all over the United States. As we travel with the National School Board, the NEA, and the AFT, John has been there fighting for administrators and teachers throughout the nation. And I'm here to tell you that because, believe it or not, he has worked for educators, be it administrators, be it superintendents, and he's gotten calls from superintendents from all over the nation. What shall I do? What can I do? And he has been in an advisory capacity that is outstanding on what he knows. One thing that I got to say, when we ask everybody to go back and better themselves, not only was John the first to get that status of knowing school law, that we could go up against anyone and do the best to represent our constituents, John did more than that. He allowed the entire staff, along with Miss Amy Inbow, to make sure that everybody carried that kind of status. So I want to say to you today, I love John. I love Frank. I love Woody, because I got to boss all three of them around. And we stayed here night after night until we got it done, but it was their brains that did it. I love you. I will always cherish and love the three of you. They cannot break us up. All right? Now, he told me it's time for me to shut up, and I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's the way we function as a team.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. We really have missed you. And John, before you begin, I have to say, what a good-looking family you have. Yeah. Very nice family.
Yeah. Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent. It is beyond humbling to be here with everybody. I'm rarely at a loss for words. I'm going to be at some of it tonight, but there's a whole group of folks that I just want to recognize, because I don't stand here if it's not for everybody in this first two rows. So I'm gonna, if you'll indulge me for 2 to 3 minutes. At the very end down there, my wife Angie, who's been with the district 22 years as a teacher. My son Robert, who is a 10th grader at Apopka High School. My daughter Juliana, who is a 6th grader at Wolf Lake. They indulge me being out late at meetings, and I love them very much, and I'm not here without them. Next to my wife is my grandmother, Jill Hart. She worked for this district from 1981 to 2005 and retired as the Teacher of the Year at Orla Vista Elementary in District 5 in 2005. My great aunt Linda Hulse, my grandmother's sister, who has been with me every step of the way at every life event. She has always been there. She's the kindest, sweetest person that I know. My great aunt Barbara Miller, who the Central Florida Auto folks, she has been up here in front of this board before many, many times. Her cat nearly broke my eardrum screaming when she saw my Aunt Barbara today, so that was good. Next to her is my mother, Denise. My mom worked for the district from 1984 to 2019. She was a multiple-time support person of the year as a secretary bookkeeper at Apopka Elementary. My father, John, who I learned all of how to work hard and just put your nose down and do the job. That comes from my father. My Aunt Angela and my Uncle Cosmo, who are thankfully down from Long Island to see this, just serendipity, so they are here. I love them. They help hone my legal skills, because we have some great discussions / debates about political issues. Shockingly, we are on different sides of it, but I love having the arguments with them. They make me better. My brother James, his wife Carol. James is a 1996 graduate of Apopka High School. Carol, I think you're a couple years after. So I love my brother dearly. We've been through this all together, and I'm so glad that he's here. He's got 2 wonderful children, one of which just graduated from Windermere High School last year, another of which is in 8th grade at Horizons West. So as you all can see, this is a family affair at OCPS for us. And finally, my brother-in-law, Greg Donovan, and his wife, Jennifer. My first date with my wife was a double date with them on July 14th, 1993. So my wife and I have been together for 30 years, and it was with them first, but they are always here to support me. This is a wonderful, wonderful group of family. And with respect to these 2, there's my de jure family. These 2 are my de facto family. I love him. He got me started in this career. I mean, he really took a chance when he didn't have to, and I'm not here without him. And Kat Gordon was my guardian angel at this district. She loved and took care of me and made sure that we were all right. And God knows we had a lot of discussions late into the evening. Sometimes she would tell me that I was wrong, and I would disagree with her and say, no, I think you're wrong. And I always lose that one because it's Dr. Gordon. But she is family too. I consider her to be my guardian angel here at OCPS. And to have the recognition of my colleagues in this award, I was speechless when I got it in November because they thought enough of me and my skill to give it to me. It really is a humbling honor. To all of you up there on the dais, I've worked with a lot of you for a lot of years. Some of you I've just gotten to know, and we will work closely together. Dr. Vasquez, maybe I won't get, oh my God, what's going on now every time I walk in your office. Because I only come in there with bad stuff. It's the nature of the job. And to Amy, Amy and I worked together before she left to go to Brevard, as she's come back. It's been a wonderful, wonderful working relationship with you. I value the hard work. I value the friendship and the collegiality you give every day when we do this, because God knows we've had a lot of silly issues over the last 3.5 years that we've had to deal with. But to all of you on the board, I appreciate you. I know sometimes you don't exactly like the things that I tell you, but always know that I'm doing it just from my legal knowledge, and I'm giving you my best judgment. There's no agenda there. I'm just telling you, I think this is what the law is, and I think this is where we're going to run into a problem. And as long as we do that, I think we'll all have great working and productive relationships. But I wanted to thank everybody here for this, my family, my de facto family, all of you on the board and on the dais there. It's a privilege to be a lawyer here at Orange County Public Schools, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Palmerini.
Don't move.
Yeah, don't move. We have several board members that want to talk to you, and then we're going to make sure that we get a picture with you before we close. But I just want to say congratulations on your well-deserved award and for all that you do for OCPS. I have to say, arguing with you, probably not as much as Dr. Gordon has. It's fun to argue. It's fun to argue with you and to debate you, and I've learned so much through those conversations that we've had. I don't always agree. Sometimes we do disagree, but I always walk away with a level of knowledge that I didn't have to begin with. So for that, thank you, and thank you for all that you do for OCPS, for the board, and for the staff. And next is Pam Gould, Member Gould.
Well, first, Kat, you didn't say it. It's a poor frog. Finish it. It's a poor frog that doesn't praise his own pond. And thank you for making this happen tonight, because John is one of the kings in our pond. So, trust is a valuable thing. It's probably the most valuable thing we can have personally, but it's even more valuable professionally. And whether we agree or not, or try to figure out ways around it, whenever you give us advice or facts or information, we can trust it. And I can't say better words than that when we're talking about the most valued counsel that we could possibly have with all of the challenging issues, especially in the last 4 years that we've had. So thank you for your dedication. Thank you for wearing your orange and blue and white, because I can't leave out a Popka, very proudly, and making it known that we have great things in OCPS, and we always try to find the right answers no matter how challenging the question. Thank you.
All right, next we have Chair Jacobs, who's on the line.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
We sure can, Chair.
Thank you. John, I am so proud of you for winning this hard-earned award, and I want to apologize for not being there in person. John knows that I have never missed a board meeting, and it is particularly hard for me to miss this board meeting with you not being there. My husband and I are both home sick right now with the fever and a cough. So my colleagues are grateful that I'm not there, but I personally regret it greatly. I also want to apologize to Kat Gordon. Kat, so good to see and hear you. Frank, haven't seen you in several years, and I wish I were there to say hello to you, but especially to John's family. You must be so proud of him. We are, and I'm sure that you are overjoyed with how well he has done. I would say the young man he's become, but we're all getting older. And finally, I do have an important question. My husband makes the world's best cookies, and I bring in some to share with John from time to time. I'm always under the impression he's bringing them home and sharing them with his wife and daughter and son, but I think now is the time of truth. John, do you really share those cookies?
I absolutely
If
do.
not,
Yes, no, I absolutely do. My daughter loves them. Yes, my daughter's a huge fan. So my wife can't have them because of a fun little disease called celiac disease, but our family enjoys it greatly. So yes, I do in fact bring them home. I do not finish them all off. I'm trying to control my figure as best I can, and I can't eat those huge cookies.
thank you, John, and you're doing a great job on your figure. I just figure while we're all honoring you for your truthfulness, now would be the time for the real test. Anyway, congratulations. We all love working with you. I, too, have the back and forth. I'm right, you're right. Feel like a bunch of teenagers that we never finished the who's right. We just keep going as John marches down the hall saying, I'm right, and me screaming, I'm right. So it's fun, but it's good, hard, and honest work. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Byrd.
Hi, John.
Hello, Member Byrd.
John's my buddy because we live right down the street from each other, and he walks in my neighborhood every morning. And I think I almost accidentally may have almost hit him with my car one day, but
I wasn't stationary.
Yeah, okay. He likes to give me a hard time, but anyway, I think that Frank said it best when he said that John is a man of integrity, and there is no better word I could think of to describe him. When you go to talk to him about an issue, he has this. First of all, his knowledge of the law is just crazy, and how he can pull up, cases and case law and statutes just out of the clear blue sky without even having to look it up. Sometimes it's amazing. So there's that, but then there's just this. There's never a hidden agenda behind anything he says to you, which is like what he said earlier, and that's true. You never feel like he's trying to lean you a certain way for a reason. You know that his heart is true. He's really doing what the law says. He's doing what his job is supposed to do, and he's a good man, and he's got a wonderful family, and I know that because he talks about his family a lot. So you guys should know that he really does love you so much. And we are really, really proud of you from Apopka. You are a great testament to our Apopka Blue Darters, who our principal is out there today too, by coincidence. But we've stood on the sidelines of some football games before together, and I know what a big fan you are. So thank you for making us proud, and congratulations on this award. You deserve it.
Next up, we have Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, congratulations. I am just so thrilled that you're receiving this honor. But I do need to clarify that when, I started this new job, superintendent, and I thought I knew a lot of what this job entailed. And the first thing that was startling to me is that John would walk in my office every single day, and I go, what's going on? And he always had bad news. well, and I appreciate and have for many years your advice, your willingness to let us go toe-to-toe when I win most of the time, even though you won't admit it. But your heart and your passion for OCPS and for the work that you do, you can really see that you love the law, that you enjoy everything that you do. And we are so proud and so blessed to have you part of our OCPS family. And thank you for sharing him with us, because I know that there's a lot of time away from family, and we recognize that, but he is near and dear to all of our hearts. So congratulations.
General Counsel Inval.
I can't really add much because I would just echo everything that everybody says. But from the attorneys of the Office of Legal Services and our staff, we value your contributions and your willingness to always be there to assist and often provide a little comedic relief when needed. And we're honored to work with you.
Thank you.
Member Dr. Castro-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, you were the first person who you had your door open when I first walked onto the 9th floor, and I just walked down there. First person I saw, and I'm like, you were so welcoming, and I had an issue right away. I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. You have ever since then had such an open door, and you've always been willing to stop whatever you were doing and either inform me or challenge me or say, think about it this way. And I appreciate that. I do see that you have the utmost respect for the law and the intent of the law, and that is frustrating for me sometimes. And I'm like, no, but that's not good enough. We need to do that's not serving our kids right. So, but it's silly of me to challenge you on the law. My former husband, who recently passed away, he was sick for a couple years, but he was also known as a great legal intellect. And I remember just a few months ago, there was a legal issue that was coming up that we were debating at the board or with in the news, and I was telling Eric, who was my former husband, I was telling him about the issue and how frustrated I was. And then you called, and I said, wait, I got to take this call. And I put it on speaker. I didn't tell you. So I put it on speaker, and he listened to the whole thing. And he hadn't been alert, but he really perked up listening to that. And then he hung up, or I hung up, and he said, well, he's right. And I'm like, oh, darn it. So even he verified that you were right, and he's on my side. So the way you carry yourself, the way that you look out for us, the way you look out for the students, it makes us all proud, and you're very deserving of that award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Felder.
Thank you, Chair. Well, John, first time I was elected to this seat, I remember you're coming into the office and, introducing yourself to me, and I looked at you because, I was feeling some kind of way. I was taking the great Cat Gordon's. I was coming behind her. I was feeling some kind of way. And so, but what I loved most about you, you came in, you sat down, and you made yourself feel at home in my office. And you started talking to me, and you told me you were from New York, and I said, I was born in New York. I said, but I'm Southern bred. I'm a Southern girl at heart. And what intrigued me was, as many of the board members have said, your knowledge of the law was just phenomenal to me. And I think you would come in, or I would call you, I would yell down the hall, and they'd say, tell John, Board Member Felder's trying to talk to him. He'd come down. And we would spend hours sometimes, and you would make sure that I understood the policies, and sometimes I didn't understand the language, and you would make sure that I understood it. And what I remember, and I would think of most about you, the calls sometimes you would take from me on the weekends. I would not like to call people on the board, on the weekends, but unless I just had to, and you would always take the call. You would always take out the time to explain. I'm the board member that costs them a lot, but you would always take out the time to explain, to make sure that I understood. And this is this thing about understanding policies and governance this is a learning curve for many of us. I know it was for me, even coming out of the classroom. And I just want to tell you thank you for making me feel comfortable in this position and helping me. I'm so appreciative. And I'm going to tell you that my predecessor had wonderful things Dr. Gordon would say about you and tell me, have you talked to Palmerini? He'll explain that to you, Vicki. You need to talk to him. He'll explain it to you. I said, okay. And you did just that. So I want to thank you. And I'm going to encourage our earlier board members to grab him, sit down and talk to him, and let him share some, like the kids say, drop a little knowledge on you. So thank you so much for all that you are doing and what you have done. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, John, we thank you so much. And we thank your family because, as a member Felder mentioned, we do contact you in the evening sometimes and sometimes on the weekend. And before you have a heart attack, Member Felder is not calling the board. I think when she said she calls the board, I think she meant the district, not the board. We're not having conversations that you're not aware of.
I know what she meant, because if I thought she meant the other thing, I'd have said, oh, damn.
But we're so proud of you for this well-deserved award. Thank you for everything that you do for OCPS and for leading our students to student success and just keeping us in line. We appreciate you so much. And now we're going to take a picture.
Well, do one with. I'm sorry. I'm telling you all what to do again. No. You need this. I know. Okay. All right. That was only because of age.
We got in line quickly.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Dragging her out again.
Drag me out. I know you got to see you, Dr. Gordon.
And members of the board, I'd like to let Mr. Palmerini go home with his family and celebrate this event, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
No labor discussions tonight.
No labor.
Yep. Palmerini, enjoy your night with your family.
And we won't get in trouble while you're gone.
And we promise.
Promise not to get in trouble.
I'll get a call tonight. All right, so
Yep.
bye.
Good night.
Thank you all for coming.
Coming.
All right, so moving along tonight, I also would like to recognize student athletes from Apopka, Boone, Lake Buena Vista, Windermere, and Winter Park High Schools for winning state championships. Woohoo! So this is our favorite part. So, all right, y'all are going to get me in trouble with Chair Jacobs. There's no clapping allowed during this during the board meeting. Yes, this is true, students involved. Please welcome Lonnie Flores, District Senior Administrator of Athletics and Wellness Services, who will be shining a spotlight on our fall 2022 student athletes. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Gallo. I am honored to recognize our fall sports at tonight's school board meeting. We have had student athletes participate in the following sports this fall: bowling, cross country, football, golf, swimming and diving, and volleyball. Each and every team gave their best effort not only on the field of competition, but also in the classroom. Tonight's recognitions will highlight those achievements. I ask our athletes as we read your sport and your school to please stand up, and then as I move on to the next one, to please sit down. Our first sport is bowling. The Apopka boys bowling team is the state 1A bowling champions. They are represented by their coach and members of their team. Go ahead and be seated. Also in bowling, Apopka's Richard Caruso is the bowling individual state 1A champion. Next, we have cross country. Winter Park boys cross country team is the state 4A academic champion with a team grade point average of 3.796. They are represented by their coach and teammates. If the board would, I just want to echo that is for the whole state of Florida. They are the academic team
wonderful.
champions for the state of Florida.
Wow. Congratulations.
Then there is our swimming and diving individuals and teams. First up is Boone's Jacob Hamlin. He is the state 4A champion in both the 200 freestyle and the 500 freestyle. Both are school records and automatically qualify him as an All-American. Next is Windermere's Antonina Harn, is the state 4A diving champion. Next, we have Lake Buena Vista's Nathan Frett, which is the state 2 diving champion. Nathan? Lastly is Windermere's 200 freestyle relay team, which is the 4A state champion, consisting of Addison Reese, Brooke Larwith, Maddie Reynolds, and Hollis Stokes. Finally, we have the girls volleyball team. Boone's girls volleyball team is the state 7A academic team champion with a team grade point average of 3.779. They are represented by their coach and a few members of their team. At this time, I ask that we share an applause for all the student athletes and their accomplishments. Thank you, Madam Chair, and at this time, could we take pictures of the student athletes with the
Yes, we're going to get some pictures, but I'd like to recognize Member Gould first, please.
One of the wonderful things that we love to do here is kind of learn about all of the students and what grade they're in. And I know some had their names announced and some didn't. So could we just run through all of the students row by row? And if you could stand, tell us your name and what grade you're in. We'll start with you guys.
Nathan, you want to start us off?
I am Nathan, and I am in 10th grade. I'm Richard Caruso, and I'm in 12th grade. I'm Malik Taylor, and I'm in 12th grade. Chase Robbins, and I'm in 11th grade. Jeremy Walker, and I'm in 12th grade. Isaiah Jackson, I'm in 11th grade. Jacob Hamlin, 12th grade.
I'm Elma Tola, and I'm in 9th grade. I'm Hannah Roberts, and I'm in 12th grade.
Tyler Aguilar, and I'm in 9th grade. I'm Russell Flynn, and I'm in 10th grade. I'm Ethan, and I'm in 12th grade. I'm Hayden, I'm in 11th grade. I'm Nolan, and I'm in 12th grade. I'm Parker, and I'm in 10th grade. I'm Oliver, and I'm in 9th grade.
I'm Ashton, and I'm in 11th grade. I'm Maddie, and I'm in 10th grade. I'm Brooke, and I'm in 11th grade. I'm Hollis, and I'm in 10th grade. I'm Maxine, and I'm in 12th grade.
I'm Noah, and I'm in 12th grade. Caleb, I'm in 12th grade. I'm Diego, and I'm in 10th grade.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready for we need to bring back the microphone because I know that while we could hear you and that was fabulous, people that are streaming in could not hear the names. All right, let's take a picture.
We want to start off with Nathan. We'll go by rows.
Yeah.
Because when you get the larger groups, it's hard to get.
Should we scoot this way more?
Yeah, I think so. Squishing.
All right, let's squish, squish, squish.
Okay.
You got the picture.
Okay, come on. What do they call that? Pageant poses. To the
All the
side.
parents here?
He's right here.
Okay. Congratulations.
So proud. Let's go.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Pop the ball. Popka Bowling is next. Parents, feel free. Come on up. I'm trying to fix our process a bit. That is a mess. Mr. Caruso, do you want to get one by yourself? Yep. You want to get one by yourself?
Oh, yeah, because he was the individual. Your parents? Right here. There they are.
You want to get one? You want to get pictures of him too? You want to get pictures of him? Is Cruz up, man? Cruz, come on up. Great, yeah. All right, great.
Let me get 5.
Winner Park, Winter Park cross country, Winter Park cross country, Winter Park cross country. I was about to come back here, and I'm trying not to yell too loud.
Come on, you're a coach, you can yell.
I'm trying to be respectful. It won't turn into a good mood if I yell. Yeah. Hats?
Thank you, congratulations.
Jacob Hamlin? Antonina? Antonina? Go ahead, Anthony. Yeah, wait for, yep. Linda Mary. You got Nathan. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't get one.
Okay. All right. Oh, you guys can hold, oh, you have your medals. Here, let me hold this then. I'll give it back to you. Thank you, congratulations.
Boone's volleyball. Boone's volleyball. This is the last group, ladies. Go ahead, ladies, go ahead.
Participating in sports is advantageous to our students and can increase their decision-making and problem-solving skills, memory and perception, building social skills, and lead them to academic success. Thank you, Lonnie, and congratulations to all of our student athletes. Thank you so much. We're going to give everybody a moment to leave the building. Yep, clear the deck before we move on to tonight's agenda. Thank you all for coming.
It becomes a ghost town every time.
Yep.
Every time. I wait for the day.
All right, tonight we are going to proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in Orange County Public Schools. Member Felder, will you please read the proclamation?
It is my pleasure, Chair. Black History Month Proclamation, February 2023. Whereas February has been nationally designated since 1976 as a time to recognize and celebrate the contributions of Americans who are of African and Caribbean descent to our nation's culture and history. And whereas historian Carter G. Woodson and other notable African Americans launched a Negro History Week celebration in 1926. This annual observance grew to honor the achievements of Black Americans and other people of African descent. And whereas Orange County Public Schools' rich tapestry includes more than 208,000 students, with 1/4 of them being Black or of Caribbean heritage. And whereas in educating the children in this public K-12 system, it is appropriate that all children learn about, reflect upon, and cherish the contributions that citizens of African and Caribbean descent, both past and present, have made to our nation in the realms of the arts, business, civil rights, education, entertainment, military, music, law, literature, politics, religion, science, and much, much more. And whereas Orange County Public Schools offers a myriad of opportunities for students to commemorate and appreciate these contributions, especially through live musical and dramatic performances, lectures by local and visiting writers, displays and film presentations offered by our libraries, public and cable television broadcasts, and local museums. And whereas Orange County Public Schools also has several of its schools named after African Americans who have made a lasting impression on our local and national communities, including Dr. Cecil L. Eccleston, scientist George Washington Carver, principals L.C. Jones and William S. Maxey, and poet Phyllis Wheatley. And whereas the individual and collective impact of Americans of African and Caribbean descent on this nation and world is far too great and expansive to recount. And whereas in 2023, more than 150 years after slavery was abolished in this nation, our society is still grappling with racial inequality and injustice as we strive toward a more perfect union. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the School Board of Orange County, Florida, does hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in Orange County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Felder. That was wonderful. We're also proclaiming February 2023 as Career and Technical Ed Month in Orange County Public Schools. We're proclaiming February 3rd, 2023 as School Crossing Guard and Appreciation Day here in Orange County Public Schools. We're proclaiming February 6th through 10th, 2023 as National School Counseling Week in Orange County Public Schools. And I believe we have some school counselors in the audience. Would you please stand so you can be recognized? Thank you for all that y'all do for our children every day. It's so important now more than ever. And I'd like to recognize Member Gould.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I always have to check this thing because you can't tell if it's on anymore. The lights are going. I wanted to lift up a couple of things. One, we deeply appreciate our counselors, of course. You're the glue that often holds a lot of things together, so thank you for that. But our crossing guards are amazing, and we need more of them. So please, if you are interested in, greeting our wonderful kiddos on a daily basis, get in touch with Orange County Sheriff's Office and apply for the crossing guard job. And then I'm very proud to say we always celebrate our Career and Technical Ed Month, but I've been looking back on things since the start of my tenure on the school board, and we've had an over 300% increase in the kind of CTE and skills-based trainings that we offer. And it's even going to get better after the strategic plan update that we most recently had. So I want to lift that is definitely worth celebrating, not only this month, and thank our entire career and technical training team and all of our teachers who incorporate those life skills into their classrooms, but we are on such a great track to really help kids with whatever path they choose to follow in the future.
Member Felder?
Thank you. And to echo Board Member Gould, it is so important that we recognize the contributions of our students and staff with the technical program. But personally, I'd like to say something to the guidance counselors. My mother was a guidance counselor, and I understand all too well your job and the responsibility that you have in our schools and how you provide guidance for not only students but some parents. A lot of times they just don't understand, and you're there to provide that guidance, to listen, and I'm just so happy that this is a time for recognition. And of course, lastly, but not least, I'm so glad that this district still recognizes the importance of celebrating people from African and Caribbean descent, that it is important that we understand their contributions and that we're yet, as a district, upholding that and recognizing those contributions. So thank you, Superintendent and board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Felder. I again just want to thank our school counselors for all that you do for our schools. It's been a challenging couple of years, and without your help and your support to our students and to our staff, I'm not sure we would have made it. And so I know that y'all work hard, and you deserve so much praise and so much recognition. So thank you for everything that you do every day to help our students lead them to success. We appreciate it. I also want to mention that our associate superintendent of our career and technical education was in Tallahassee today. She was actually presenting, I think before, was it the House or the Senate? Was it the Senate? A Senate committee. Senate committee. So that goes to show you the strides that we've made in career and technical education when the legislature is calling up our employees to come before them to tell them what we're doing and the good and the bad about career technical education. So we're very fortunate to be where we are with that. So thank you. And now, is there anybody else? Nope. Okay. Dr. Vasquez, do we have any newly appointed administrators to present tonight?
We do not.
All righty. We're going to move on then to the strategic plan, the annual report on the internal audit. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you,
all
Madam
for
Chair.
attending.
I am pleased to have Linda Lindsay be able to share with you the work that the audit committee has done over the course of the year. We know how valuable they are to our district and to ensuring that we're dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's. So I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez, and good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's our pleasure to be here this evening. This is our annual report to you on all things audit. Some of it will be familiar to you because we make certain annual assurances to you about the practice that we manage on behalf of yourselves and all of the stakeholders for Orange County Public Schools. The main part of our presentation tonight is going to be from the chair of your Audit Advisory Committee, Debbie Roth. Debbie is the Director of New Product Development for the Institute of Internal Auditors, which happens to be the standard-setting body that establishes the professional standards that we follow in our practice of internal audit on behalf of you and the district. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Debbie.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Superintendent Vasquez and Amy and the full board. Thank you for having me here today. The mission of internal audit is from the Institute of Internal Auditors is to enhance and protect organizational value by providing risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. That is the global mission of internal auditors, and most audit departments have their own mission, and Orange County Public Schools has their mission for their audit department to provide independent objective assurance services that add value and enhance the district's performance, accountability, and transparency. All auditors are required to follow the Code of Ethics, and that is mandatory for all IIA members and the Orange County Public School Audit Department. They are all members of the IIA. Internal audit are expected to apply and uphold the following principles: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competency. The Audit Advisory Committee operates according to your school board charter, and we oversee all audit functions of Orange County Public Schools. This provides the required independence of the internal audit function. Our responsibilities include reviewing the annual audit plan, activities, staff, and organizational structure of the internal audit department. We ensure that there are no restrictions on internal audit, and we make sure we review and concur in the appointment, replacement, or dismissal of the school board internal auditor. Fortunately, you have had Linda here for a very long time. We also review the effectiveness of internal audit and the external audit functions, and we report at least annually to the board, which is our presence here this evening. To let you know a little bit about our audit committee, I am the audit committee chair, and as Linda mentioned, I'm the director of product development of the IIA. I consider myself an educator. I am responsible for conferences and development of our internal audit textbook, which is nice to be in the education space as well as being here tonight. Dan Williams is a CPA. He is retired Senior VP of Internal Audit for Darden Restaurants. Brian Paulson, CPA. He is the Director of Disney Cruise Line and Story Living by Disney Finance and Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. Kay Redlick is the Chief Technology Officer at CNL Financial Group. Tammy Campbell is a partner at McDermott Davis and Company CPAs. The nice thing you have about this committee is we have a very diverse set of skills that we bring to the table to be able to ask the right questions and to support Linda. We also have our ex officio members, our school board chair, and the general counsel. Our activities this year have included reviewing and improving the entity-wide risk assessment process and results, something that will be kicking off here shortly for 2023. We also reviewed and recommended the school board approval of the annual audit plan, and we established expectations with the external auditors at the beginning of the audit process. And today was our meeting, and we discussed the results upon the completion of their audits. We conduct the performance appraisal for the school board internal auditor, and we discussed that with Amy, and she did participate with us this year as we went through the review so she could hear what we had to say and share her insights as well. We monitor the internal audit department performance against the annual audit plan, and we perform a committee self-assessment to make sure that we are handling everything in accordance with the charters and the audit committee recommendations. We do meet with the CIO annually and discuss any IT security issues all over the world. Cybersecurity, IT security is one of the key issues that we are very focused on. We also serve as an evaluation committee for the selection of the CPA firm for construction costs, verification engagements that are entered into by Orange County Public Schools. Some key points: our internal audit function is independent via this reporting relationship to the school board through the audit committee. And our audit committee is volunteers, so we happily serve in order to support Orange County Public Schools. The annual audit plan is being accomplished with priority on higher risk areas. The audit committee actually actively oversees the audit function and maintains a continuous focus on the risks facing Orange County Public Schools and making sure the objectives have been met for the audit committee and the internal audit department. One of the things that is published by Great City Schools, or by the CGCS white paper titled Internal Auditing at Great City Schools. And the nice thing is that Orange County Public Schools meets all of the best practices. I want to take a moment this time, I don't think we've done this in the past, and that is really to introduce you a little bit to the internal audit team. You may not have the opportunity to meet them. I'm very happy that for this meeting, Linda's team is fully staffed, which is a great accomplishment in internal audit today, and that is a testament to Orange County Public Schools and what you do for your employees that are encouraging everybody to say. Philip Vincent is a certified internal auditor and a graduate of Wharton School. His previous audit experience included the City of Ocala and Osceola County Clerk of Court, and he's been on the team for 7 months, so relatively new. Vince Roberts is a certified internal auditor who's been with Orange County Public Schools for over 30 years. He has conducted audits in almost every single district and has a wealth of information to support the new members on the team. He is very well known and respected throughout the district. Linda is a certified public accountant and heads the department, and she brings a wealth of knowledge to the team and support in encouraging the team to develop. Luis Aponte Santiago is a certified information systems auditor who has been here for 4 years, and keeping an IT auditor for 4 years is a great accomplishment. Previously, he was an IT auditor for the Puerto Rican equivalent of the State Auditor General, and he performs all the IT auditors and supports the rest of the team with technology aspects of their audits. Jasmine Holmes just joined the team in June. She has her MBA and previously worked as an auditor with the State of Mississippi's Division of Medicaid and Department of Revenue. Jan Skurza is a CPA, a certified public accountant, and their resident Excel genius. He has been with the Orange County Public Schools for 18 years and has audited contracts, schools, and a number of the departments. Elpa Valles is a certified internal auditor and certified in risk management assurance. She's been with OCPS for 7 years and spent 8 years before that as auditor of State of Kentucky Retirement Systems. She's a whiz with large data sets, not a skill set I have, and with data analysis using SQL, structured query language. So just a little bit about that team. And as you see, there's a lot of different certifications on the team. They come with a wealth of experience, which is great for any internal audit department. We do monitor. One of the things we look at in our report is the open recommendations, and we try to track what has been outstanding for over a year. We monitor that, discuss that, what issues are coming up, and how can we ensure that recommendations are being made and are being acted on throughout the school. Give you a little bit about benchmarking, because I think this is an important graph. We show this every year. Orange County is 0.31, which is 0.31 number of auditors per 100 million of the general fund budget. This is a very small team that is accomplishing quite a bit. They are a team that is actively sought out, people coming to Linda, other auditors around the state, around the country coming to Linda to learn more about how strong this audit department is. With a small department, to be able to accomplish what they do is quite an accomplishment. And then I'm opening it to the school board for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation.
Thank you.
I'm actually queued up first, so I do have a question, and it's probably for Mrs. Lindsay. Can we go back to the 3 slides, the one that shows the findings?
Oh, yes.
Those findings.
Yes. Okay, so the open audit recommendations. So if I'm looking at this correctly, it talks about the age of months, like as of January 12th, 2023. So we have 8% of our findings haven't been corrected, or 7 findings have not been corrected in over 2 years. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
And why is it taking 2 years to correct your findings from your audit?
They belong to various departments within the district, and each has their reasons. We do track the performance against the target dates that management provides to us, and sometimes their plans do change, and they are permitted to revise their target completion dates, but there are still those that are lingering, and each has their different reasons why. There's no blanket answer to your question.
So even though you're showing 7 findings that are 2 years old, does that include if they move the target date? So if they had an original target date and then they moved it, would it be considered not 2 years old? Like, how does that work?
If these charts are tracked against management's target dates, and if they've been revised, we track against the revised date. Because sometimes, notwithstanding your question, Madam Chair, sometimes a department may think they're going to resolve an item, say, by June 30th, but things happen, it gets crazy or whatever, and they say, oh, it's going to take us until September. And if they communicate that to us, and we do reach out to them in a follow-up activity, but if they communicate to us that they want to revise the date, then we will revise the date. But we don't change the dates unless that comes from management.
So some of these could be older than what we're seeing on the screen.
Perhaps, yes, if what is there is reflective of a revised date.
So how can we as a board help you get these findings resolved quicker?
Probably this conversation will help. I will tell you this very subject was a matter of great discussion at this morning's audit committee meeting as well. And I did meet with the chiefs, I believe it was last week, possibly 2 weeks ago. Forgive me that I can't, 2 weeks ago. And highlighted this to their attention as well. So I think there is some activity underway.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, anything that we can do, and I would challenge our superintendent to fixing that issue. We shouldn't have, we do audits and you do recommendations, and you're doing a fabulous job. So thank you for all that you and your team do. But when you present the findings, it should be resolved within a reasonable amount of time. It shouldn't be 2 or years later and we still have issues unresolved. That's kind of unacceptable. So
agreed.
Thank you. No, it's not Mrs. Lindsay's fault. I'm wanting to help.
Thank you.
All right. So I think, did you cue in? Okay. So Member Castor Dental, I'm new at this, and so I messed with the board. So I apologize. So Member Castor Dental, you're next.
Chair, can you go to the slide that showed the comparison with other districts?
I think that was the last slide. Yep.
That's it. Mm-hmm. So I've seen that a number of years here where we have the lowest number of auditors per $100 million, and we're more efficient than other departments and other districts. And also, we have a fully staffed department now, and we've been able to retain. What is the difference that you think? You said other districts call and find out, how do you do this? What is the difference in why we're able to maintain such an efficient office?
There is no one answer to your question. I will say that we've been fully staffed only since June. We had a period of a long time when, because of the challenges that Chair Roth mentioned, it was very difficult to fill positions. I'm thrilled with the team we have now. They're just quality through and through, and they're all very talented and very productive and very smart and doing great things for the district. I have always, when I've come and presented this benchmark chart to you each year, I just like to tell you that we are small but mighty. And you get a lot of bang for your buck out of your investment in our shop. There's always more we could do. But I think for what we have and the skill set that we bring and the dedication of the team, and we do, as you know, conduct a risk-based audit plan. So we're targeting the top things. And the audit committee makes sure that we're targeting the top things. And they evaluate the entire sausage-making process that goes into developing that audit plan. So I think that I don't have a pat answer for you. I wish that I did. But I think it's a combination of things.
Okay.
I don't run a sweatshop, though.
That's good. Do the other districts also have an audit oversight committee?
Most of the larger ones do, yes. That is good governance, and it is also the most effective way to achieve the requirement that the audit function be independent of management operations.
And that committee is volunteer-based?
It varies. It varies all over the map, Dr. Dental, Dr. Castor. Sometimes it's part appointed officials and part board members. Sometimes it's a subset of board members. Sometimes it's all qualified, appointed volunteer board members. It's all over the map.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Gould.
Thank you for the great work. And you know, I do think we have the right combination because we have these amazing experts that lend their time very seriously and devote a lot of time to the school district and making it as great as possible. I too would like to see a revised system on how we can kind of track and check on the things that may fall through the cracks. And quite frankly, in the last couple of years, there's been more crisis and more fires to put out. So I don't think that if there were some things missed, hopefully there were no big rock things, but that they need a way to get back to the surface and not be forgotten so that they're not caught in another audit in the future. So I think that's just kind of retooling into new normal, and hopefully we can find a mechanism to improve that. Thank you.
Member Samonaka?
Thank you so much for your work and for the presentation. It's I definitely remember from our meeting, the Small and Mighty. Definitely won't forget this chart. It's very memorable. Question on when you say you kind of prioritize based on risk assessment. So when we look at the chart on the open audit recommendations and things that are pending, do we rank those as well on risk? Or do we, is there a way to figure out those 20 findings that have been pending 1 to 2 years where they're asking where they fall in the risk?
We do consider that, but we don't consider it on a finding by finding basis.
Okay.
We have our audit universe and consider a number of factors about that, one of which is results of prior audits and status of open recommendations, or whether all of the recommendations from a prior audit have subsequently been closed. Those are put into the mix of evaluation factors, along with other things like materiality and, did we just audit them? Just audit them last year. Sometimes it doesn't pay to go back in too soon. They haven't had a chance to right the ship, so to speak. But it is in the mix, absolutely.
Got it. Because
it is considered.
It would be helpful just to appreciate what are within those findings. Is there specific trends, departments, things that are moving a little bit more thematically in terms of it's taking longer or less. The graph is helpful as an overview, but I don't have enough detail to really know where we as a board can support.
I do provide more detail to the audit committee and their meetings, and I'm happy to provide that to you as well.
That would be incredible.
Yes.
At least on this slide, number 16, just to get a sense of what's taking long.
Be happy to do that.
Thank you. Chair Jacobs.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to, take a moment to thank Ms. Lindsay and thank the Chair and the committee for all their hard work and their commitment to OCPS and our students. I also wanted to follow up on Chair Gallo's points about questions about the the findings and ask Ms. Lindsay if there, and I think Member Gould followed up on this as well, if there's a way that you could provide for us first the length of time since the finding was first identified, and then if it's been, if that date, expected date of curing the problem has been extended. If you can give us both sets of information, I think that would really be helpful for the reasons that I think that have been articulated by my colleagues.
Absolutely. We have all of that, and it's easily provided. It's the backup behind these charts, so I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the wonderful job you do. I overlooked that, but we're so fortunate to have you and your team. And again, congratulations on having a full house. I know for a long time that was not the situation, and it takes a lot in this environment to both employ people and keep them employed. So obviously you're doing a great job on your culture as well.
Thank you.
Member Front.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for what you're doing. I think we need, accountability is always great, and making sure that we're, doing the best that we can in every area. Couple questions. When you say, I think as a, members of the community, parents who may be listening, there's a lot of gray area here where we're not knowing what exactly, when it says there's findings, what exactly would constitute a finding. Are you able to explain that, or is some of this supposed to be confidential?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, so when we issue our reports, we will include findings and recommendations. The findings can be either something that involves compliance with a school board policy or a procedure or a law, rule, or regulation, or they can be business advice and say, we think you could do this more efficiently or more effectively or benefit from a different approach, or it can be focused on strengthening internal controls, making the system better so that we can mitigate risk more effectively. Usually the types of recommendations we make fall into one of those three categories.
Okay, I think that is very helpful, because when you look at some of these, maybe people who are watching might say, "Whoa, 20 findings! What kind of crazy stuff's happening in the schools?" But to know that some of it might be things that you can just tighten up ship in different areas, things like that. Is there a way for the public to see the findings?
Oh, every report that we issue is published on your agenda. In my report to you. I think almost every meeting you have a report from me. Once in a while, the timing is such that I don't have a fresh report, but almost every meeting you have a report from me with the most recently issued audit reports, and those are preserved and accessible to the public both through BoardDocs and on my department's webpage. Every single report, we have an archive that goes back, 12 years or more. For the public to see those reports, and each of those findings and recommendations is in them.
Okay, perfect. I know I'll have questions of that nature later, so I think just for people to understand, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Superintendent Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to apologize to the board. I actually had no idea that we had this. In fact, I've met with Linda. I believe I meet with Linda 4 times a year. I do know we discussed some of the concerns she had about one particular audit finding that no one owned, and she was going to go to Chiefs. So I'm going to ask Linda that she compile a chart with all of the audit findings that have not been completed, and I will personally monitor those every month and update the board.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. That's perfect. Thank you. Well, I think that's it for questions. Thank you so much, Mrs. Lindsay. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for us and for the audit committee. Thank you, Ms. Rock.
Thank you very much.
All right. Dr. Vasquez, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, there are not.
In order to provide government, thank you, Dr. Vasquez. In order to provide government governmental transparency, as well as reasonable opportunities for the public to access and participate in the decision-making process. New protocols were established to allow the school board to continue to perform essential functions in a manner consistent with law and board policy while keeping our citizens and employees safe. The opportunity for the public to participate in this meeting to provide public comment on the published agenda have been posted on our website and on BoardDocs and are as follows. Public comment in person for those members who have chosen to attend in person to address the school board during the public comment portion of the meeting to speak to a published agenda item. They were directed to fill out a public comment card located in the lobby outside of the school board chambers and turn it into the school board services representative. Public comment telephonically for those members of the public who have chosen to utilize the call-in option to provide public comment on a published agenda item. The telephone line number for such participation is 407-250-6270. Callers were entered into the queue between 4:30 p.m. and 4:45 p.m. Public comment via email. Members of the public were invited to provide public comment via email for the school board's consideration at this school board meeting by 5 p.m. yesterday. Any emails that were received by that time were compiled by OCPS staff and provided to each school board member electronically and or in hard copy for consideration by 10 a.m. this morning. Emails received will be a part of the permanent record. The public is reminded that all comments made in person or telephonically are subject to board policies regarding civility and length of communication, up to 3 minutes, the time limit for public comment that has already been established through the school board policy. Mrs. Inval, do we have anyone who has come to speak to the school board in person or anyone who has called in to speak on an item on today's agenda?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Thank you. The vice chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by the superintendent.
So moved.
Second. There was a motion made by Member Byrd and seconded by Member Gould. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The motion carries unanimously. All right, we have nothing on the non-consent agenda item. Dr. Vasquez.
I have a very brief report. We are wrapping up our town hall meetings. I want to thank everyone that has come out and shared their thoughts with us. We will be publishing a report of the findings as a result of my first 100 days. That will be coming out towards the end of February. But if you have not had a chance to come out, we have 5 more town hall meetings. They're posted on our website. Look forward to meeting you and talking about what's going well, what we need to improve, and how are we doing with communication. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. We do not have any reports by school board members. Oh, Mrs. Inval, you're up next.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
I have some executive sessions to announce, so please bear with me as I go through the whole official announcements. Pursuant to Section 286.011, subsection 8 Florida statutes, and in accordance with Board Policy BEC, an entity may meet in private with its attorney to discuss pending litigation to which the entity is presently a party before a court or administrative agency, provided certain conditions are met, including the requirement that a transcript of the executive session will be made part of the public record upon conclusion of the litigation. In this case, I'm requesting the school board's advice concerning pending litigation in 3 separate cases. First one is Luis Rodriguez Colon versus Orange County School Board in case number 2019-CA-013753-0. Second case is Paul Stachel versus Orange County School Board, case number 2022-CA-006669-0. Third case is Joel Rodriguez versus Orange County School Board in case number 2021-CA-001985-0. And that's going to be held on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, immediately following the school board work session. The executive session will be a closed meeting held in Conference Room E at the ELC and will take approximately 2 hours. A notice has been drafted for posting, and it's also been reserved on your calendars. Those in attendance will be Teresa Jacobs, Chair; Angie Gallo, Vice Chair; Maria Salamanca, School Board Member; Alicia Ferrant, School Board Member; Pam Gould, School Board Member; Vicki Elaine Felder, School Board Member; Karen Castor-Dental, School Board Member; Melissa Bird, School Board Member; Dr. Maria Vasquez, Superintendent; Amy Enval, School Board's General Counsel; John Palmerini, Deputy General Counsel; Ruth Osborne, Esquire, our outside counsel; and a court reporter.
Did you say 21st or 23rd?
That's going to be on the 21st. And that's immediately following the school board work session that we have on OBO. And then I do have a second one to announce, which has also been reserved on your calendar. Same statutory authority. This one is in the case that's styled as the School Board of Orange County, Florida versus Jewel Labs, Inc., formerly known as Pax Lab, Inc. et al., in case number 3-20-CV03685. And that executive session will be on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. The executive session will be a closed meeting held in Conference Room E at the ELC and will take approximately 1 hour, and a notice has been drafted for posting. And those in attendance at that school board executive session will be Teresa Jacobs, Chair; Angie Gallo, Vice Chair; Maria Salamanca, School Board Member; Alicia Ferrant, School Board Member; Pam Gould, School Board Member; Vicki Elaine Felder, School Board Member; Karen Castor-Dental, School Board Member; Melissa Bird, School Board Member; Dr. Mia Vasquez, Superintendent; Amy Enval, School Board's General Counsel; John Palmerini, Deputy General Counsel; John Kiefer, Esquire; Steve Mayer, Esquire; Kendall Moore, Esquire, and our court reporter. And those are the statutory requirements for me to announce the meeting, and I am done with respect to executive session, but I did one more thing, sent you an email. It is time for you to appoint your representatives to the Orange County 2023 VAB. And for those of you that don't know what it is, I gave you a long, detailed explanation with some links to it. And in the past, we had two citizen members, Mr. Jim Daniels and Sandra Fatme Hall. We're going to check to see if they're still interested in serving. And then we did have Vice Chair Gallo was our primary, and Member Castor-Dental was our alternate. And so I want you to think about who you think you want to nominate, and we are going to have that at a future school board meeting. I would love to have it done shortly, so I don't have to, so it can be done, and we can send our representatives off to the county in case there are new ones. But there are specific requirements.
She likes it.
Okay, so Member Castor-Dental,
yes.
and are we proposing that I'll bring it back an agenda item. Do I have any other volunteers?
I'll be the alternate.
You want to be the alternate? Okay, perfect. We'll bring that back, and we'll check with our other people.
Else wants to.
I'm happy. I was just trying to be nice. I am happy to allow someone else to be the alternate.
We can use Member Castor-Dental, and I can talk to,
Yes.
I'll talk to our new ones independently and see if they might be interested. It's fun. All right, and then I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Inval. All right. Do we have any? We do, actually. Okay. Member Gould.
So just a couple of things. One, and I've discussed this in the past, but I don't think we've had movement, and it does cost money. And I know we're going to be having a facilities update coming up, but we're about to launch new prototypes. I had my facilities meeting today, which was a great information shared. But we have had issues with our covered play areas, and I have built 15 schools, and they're not big enough. And when I asked about that specifically today, apparently that part of the plan has not been altered, and I think it needs to be reconsidered before we start a new prototype, because it is a problem at every single school, even when they're right-sized. We just use that space for many things besides PE, and it's not adequate enough, and it needs to stay covered because we're, 3 to 5 degrees hotter in Florida than when I first moved here. So that's one thing I would request that the staff take another look at. And I wanted to let the board know about it too, in case you had missed that. I thought some of the things that came up in the pre-agenda were, and I saw you vigorously taking notes, Superintendent, but there were a couple of items. One was engaging the parents in the drills and figuring out the how to do that in a better way. And I know we recently had a discussion on that, so that's on your agenda already. But maybe there's a briefing we give them on what they should do whenever there's a question about a drill or about, and it's much more, and maybe we even put it in the code of conduct. I don't know.
So we're thinking along the same lines. Excuse me, Madam Chair, may I? Staff did come back with a recommendation that we should not be notifying individuals when we're having drills. But we did come up with the idea that we would pilot at 8 elementary schools, one from each board member's area, where the schools could send out a Connect Orange the week before.
Nice.
Notifying the parents. There will be an active assailant drill next week. This will give you an opportunity to talk with your child that it is a drill and why we do the drills so that they are prepared in the event that there's an active assailant. So what we can do is we can put talking points together that are sent out or available to our families, and then we'll see how the pilot goes. And if that works out, that may be something that we could do across the board.
That's terrific. Thank you very much. And then the other thing that we continue to hear, not only at the community meetings, but in the grocery store, is about the confusion or it's not really confusion, the unsettled and unclear pathway for teachers and books. I think it's going to take a lot of reinforcement, and anywhere where we can show examples like were described tonight, whether it's a list of what's been banned across the county or even trends that are out there, may help us find some light in the dark here, because it is a very difficult thing to navigate for our teachers and for our parents, but that's twofold, right? So it's really empowering teachers to the best of our ability, but it also puts into the hands, which we talked about last week, parents who may see something eliminated but want to make sure their child has access to it, because they are the ones that know their child the best and know if they are developmentally or in need of whatever that message from that book is. So I think that has a twofold, because, I believe in parents' rights, but it means they have the right to choose both ways, not just one way. And we need to support those teachers as best we can in this very shadowed area.
Thank you. I was actually cued in next. So I'm just going to reiterate on the library materials what Member Gould just says. I think any transparency that we could provide to our teachers, provide to our parents, to provide to our community is much needed. I understand that this will come back before a work session. But until that time, as we're working through the process, especially in elementary school, because they are in the process of going through their classroom libraries, until we can get that policy nailed down, how are we being transparent? How are we communicating? If we have a teacher that has removed books because they're nervous about the new policy or they're nervous about the new law, how are we meeting the needs of those students so that every child still has the opportunity to read a good book? Are we providing more time at a library? And I mentioned that during the work session, like what are we going to do to ensure that every child has a book in their hands and we can foster that love for reading? A lot of teachers have very robust libraries in their classrooms, and if they're removing them or scared or we're going through the process, I just want to ensure that every child has access and that we are communicating with parents what is happening in their child's classroom. And I'm sure that teachers do that through their newsletter and whatnot with students, but it's imperative that we, in this time, that we're as transparent as possible in all aspects of what we do. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I want to talk about real quick. I was in
Tallahassee last week. I came home yesterday, but while I was there, a group of FAFSA individuals were there from Palm Beach County, and Florida Association of School Administrators. And what we were talking, I was just asking them what they were speaking to their legislator about, like what is the top of their mind, what are they concerned about? The number one thing that I heard was graduation rate, the lack of the PERT, and the increase in concordance scores, and how fearful they are about the amount of students that could not graduate. And so that prompted me to ask tonight, how are we looking? Can we get an update on what's happening in our high schools? How many kids are we afraid that will not graduate this May 2023? And what are we actively doing to ensure that they do graduate? I mean, is it possible for us to do more non-reporting ACTs? Do we have any information if it's possible to get the PERT back? Would it be helpful if we were advocating to bring back the PERT with our legislators or the Department of Education? Like, what should we be doing? What should we be telling our community to do to help us with this graduation? Because what I heard from Palm Beach County, quite frankly, it just got me thinking, and it bothered me. And then I heard some numbers from other counties, because then I started asking questions. So I would really challenge us to look into that or provide an update to the board.
Certainly, that is something that was brought up to the commissioner when we met with him in Tampa, asking again about the possibility to look at, since this really is the first year of a new assessment, this is the last cohort that has had three years of interrupted learning, and the response at that time was not favorable. We have been working through FAFSA, sharing information with them, numbers. I'll certainly have our team give you the projected number of students that we predict will graduate. In some cases, I would say in some cases, we have some schools that we're seeing a significant drop projection-wise. In others, it's a much smaller drop. We can also provide you with the dates and opportunities that we have put out there for them to be able to take the SAT, ACT. And I know our parents are aware, because it's come up in our town halls, partly because they won't get the results in time, so their child is taking multiple assessments because they won't know if they pass. So we certainly can provide that to you via email. And I do know that our own principals have been talking about that. I'll find out through OCASA how they are approaching it with the legislature.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vasquez. I do have something else that I want to talk about, but I'll come back around because we got a full board here. So, Dr. Castor-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that we had a wonderful celebration this last week at Evans High School. It is a community partnership school, which brings lots of partners to the table. It includes the UCF partnership, OCPS, Orange Blossom Family Health, and the Children's Home Society of Florida. And it is a model program across the country, and it is right here in District 6. I'm so proud of it. And it was the 10-year anniversary. And so we were able to look at what the school has accomplished in 10 years with all these partners together. And it's really hard to explain what a community partnership school is. It's better to go and visit and see how amazing it is. And this model, the community partnership school, is what is now at Jones High School and Eccleston, I believe, and what is the other one? At Cheney? It's Jones, Eccleston, Ace, and Ace downtown. So right now, those are our 4 in our district, but there are so many lessons that we can learn, even if we don't fully implement a community partnership school in every school. But I would like to invite any new members that we have, and any members who have not gone out. I know Member Gallo and I were out there before, but if any of you would like to go and visit, I invite you. I will go with you. And the principal there has already said anytime, especially on a Tuesday when you can actually see when the dentist is there and students are getting their teeth cleaned and addressed. So there's just so much going on. You have to go see it, and I'm happy to coordinate that field trip. And a second point is there's been a lot of discussion outside of the board of the recent legislation in Tallahassee dealing with something that could really have a direct effect on everything in OCPS, and that is House Bill 1, dealing with the education savings accounts, or really vouchers, using public money for more private schools. And I know we've had that issue. We've been tracking it and the funding that goes away to so many private school students. And now they're proposing to expand that to anybody who would like a voucher. And I was hoping that maybe we could have someone, maybe Ms. Concolino or maybe Mr. Howitt, I'm not sure who would be involved, but if we could get some kind of estimate of how that would affect our district. I know we can't figure it out without experiencing it, but how would that affect our district and the services that we're able to offer our students if this does pass the way it's written? So that's all I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Castro-Dental. All right, Member Felter.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of things. I attended the celebration of 10 years at the community school event at Evans. And as some board members were discussing earlier regarding our graduation rates, and many of the children testified of the fact that had not that community school been there so that they could find a safe haven, they probably would have dropped out. They wouldn't have stayed. They completed their graduation. And I'm so happy that the other three are in my district at Eccleston, Jones High, and Ace. And I've heard and I've seen so many accomplishments that community school has done with those children, and especially the medical aspect of it. I got a lot of reports about what they were doing at Eccleston, because sometimes the children cannot afford eyeglasses, they need them, they do that. So I would extend the same invitation. Board Member Castro-Dental extended. If you want to go to either one of the schools, you can call me and we can go together. But that's something that I'm, Superintendent, I'm so glad that we have done that. It's just wonderful because, this district meets the needs, so many needs of so many people in so many different walks of life. People just don't understand all of the stuff that we do. And I'm so very proud of that communal kind of thing that we're doing. And I hope that never lets up. The second thing I would like to talk about, Board Member Gould talked about the schools being built and still not enough space to cover the children because it's so hot. Well, I've been looking at talking with facilities, and I think Rory works hard and he meets with us and has everything all lined up for us. But I just want to let you all know that I have some concerns too at some of my schools in terms of just the renovation. First, I didn't understand when John Morris was living and he had that first meeting. He was the first person I ever met in cabinet. He kept talking about the renovation. I said, what is this? What are you talking about? So I do understand we do need to renovate. And living in Florida, living in Orlando, we're the city beautiful because we have so many lakes. So our grounds are going to be swampy and a lot of problems are going to happen with schools we build, and it's just going to be a problem. So I did have a meeting with Superintendent Vasquez, and I'm just kind of reiterating and serving notice that as a board member with District 5, I'm going to constantly kind of see about that. And we do schedule renovations for our schools because they need it. But I just want to let us know, if those of you don't recognize or realize, that we're going to have some problems because of the land. This place, you can go in your backyard in Florida and dig 30 minutes and water gonna come up. So we got this issue with this sinking and swampy stuff, but we got to stay on top of it as a board to make sure facilities and the powers that be are staying on top of making sure our schools get the proper renovation. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is it's at some point as a board, I know it's difficult because I heard yesterday the governor was saying that they have the AP board has to come back again for them to look at the validity of teaching African American Lit to AP classes. But I know there are a lot of teachers, maybe some principals, are having some concerns about introducing that type of literature to their students. And I hope as a board, as a district, that we can give them the reassurance to do your best in teaching literature that's accurate. I don't intend to support anything that's inaccurate, but I also don't intend to encourage lies, because it's history, whether we like it or not. So I want to let you know where I stand in terms of the support of teachers, any type of teacher, literature, books. I mean, we really have to find some kind of way, and I know we're doing the best that we can with what we've been given from the state to make some type of, I guess, policy decisions as to what our students are going to learn. And the fact that they need, we don't want to crowd or stagnate creativity in terms of teaching. And so I just want to do my best to try to assure those teachers who are listening and parents and students that they will be able to learn some of the history. I'll come back again. I'm sure I'm going to come back again. But anyway, I just need to say that. I'll be back.
Thank you, Member Felder. All right, Chair Jacobs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Been a good conversation. Board members have brought up a lot of important issues. One thing I want to introduce to the conversation is the drills that we have. And I know I think the superintendent mentioned what the requirements are there. But it was suggested to me, I believe it was just today, from a parent, that it would be helpful if we have the capacity to offer training also for additions volunteers. I know we offer that for our substitutes, but addition volunteers that are in the classroom. One, I think in particular, had an experience where the teacher had stepped out, the alarm went off, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. So I think it's wonderful we have these addition volunteers, but if we could provide that training, I think that would also be very helpful. Like several of the board members, and I'm sure our superintendent and our cabinet and all of our faculty are concerned about the impact PERT is going to have. So if it is possible to be also thinking about what enhanced education, I want to say remedial, but that might not be the term, we can offer to those students who we think are likely to not be able to pass without that option for them. Just anything we can do to be proactive at this stage would be really helpful, rather than counting on the state to reverse course. And that's it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes.
If I could speak to the training of volunteers.
Absolutely, Mrs. Inval.
So we would want to make sure that we get a recommendation from staff on that, because we want to make sure that our training for our drills and anything related to safety and emergency management we have to balance the public's ability to know with the safety and security of our students. So I think there's a good thing that we could do in between. We just have to figure out what that recommendation would be for staff, like volunteers. When a drill happens, this is what you can be expected to do, versus going through the entire training process that our students go through.
Okay, so you'll look into that and get back to the board?
We'll work with staff when they come back, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Inval. Member Ferrant.
Madam Chair. I just wanted to touch really quick on the books as well, especially for classroom libraries. I've heard, quite a few who are saying that they're concerned, teachers who feel concerned. Some are even trying to close or, put away all their books. I want to just urge teachers, this is going to be a little bit of a process as we create this transparency, making sure that all parents know what's going on, what's in the classrooms. It is going to be a process. Reach out to parents to see if there's parents that can help. And then really just err on the side of caution. If there's books that you say, hey, I'm not really sure if this is going to meet that, keep that in the side note and you give that to maybe your media specialist, something like that. But I want to urge teachers, obviously reading is fantastic. We've got to keep our kids engaged in reading. We just want to make sure that those books are suitable for the education setting. What you want to keep at home obviously is your own prerogative. But in school, if you're just feeling like maybe that, we just err on the side of caution. The other thing was discipline. I want to thank Dr. Vasquez. In every single town hall, you have been so attentive, asking questions, listening to the public, listening to what they're saying. And it seems that at every single one, discipline is something that comes up from teachers as well as parents, that we're seeing that is a huge issue. I've been at several different schools doing school visits, speaking with principals. I was at Conway Middle. I really applaud the work that Mr. Bing is doing there, watching how he's really turning the ship around. What was quite a few discipline issues at the school. He's been able to build a community, implementing some things just to help reduce that discipline issue. So I don't know if that's something that you can reach out to him and kind of see what he's doing. Fantastic job with him. But I thank you. I just want to let the public know too that that's something that all of us are looking at and seeing how can we take care of that. It's something also as parents, we need parents to be fully engaged and realizing that discipline, we've got to work both ways and just making sure that our kids are safe in school. So those are my words for tonight.
Thank you. Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also in my tour of schools. I am visiting a different school every single day, spending 2 to 3 hours at each of those. I tell my principals on my schools to hang in there because I do want to listen before I come in with my own priorities, and hopefully really focus on combining my areas of what I think is important with what they think it's important. So I'm in a similar kind of listening tour as you were, Superintendent, and I have heard across the board how excited admin and teachers are to have someone they can talk to and who they believe is listening. So I know it's a lot of work, but it's being felt and heard, and it has consistently come up in all of the conversations I have had. A couple of things that have kind of stood out generally as I visit these schools, similar to what Member Gallo brought up on graduation rates, I am seeing a lot of concerns actually about those 9th and 10th graders. Mm-hmm. And there is going to be an actual delay on when we start seeing the impacts of those, of the COVID years in graduation. So I think maybe this year will be the first one, but I think it only potentially gets less favorable from there on. And so I do want us thinking about what are we doing at that 9th and 10th grade level. Teachers are definitely feeling that gap. Administrators are definitely feeling them, and we have support for it, but I don't think we have a good answer for it yet. The second one is as I talk to parents and administrators on just all the different policy changes that we have done, obviously, in response to things coming down from Tallahassee, and it's part of what this district does, right? But I kind of hear constantly how confusing our communication style is. I think folks feel that our communication is definitely improved and that it's more transparent, it is more often. But a lot of the memos we send out, whether to schools or to parents, have a lot of legalese and many times just statute language, which is not being received well, and I think creates a lot of confusion. And many times, I would argue, unwarranted backlash from parents when they get upset with us as a district, when we know, we sit here for hours talking about this and we know what we intend. Somehow that is not, our intentions are not reaching the person reading what we're doing. And so I would love to spend some time just thinking through how we, I don't imagine that the policy changes are going to stop in velocity and frequency and how it's going to be. And I do think we need to be a little bit more proactive on how do we improve our communication with like a layman audience that is not always reading legislature and is not sitting through all of these policies. I think we saw this a lot with the bathroom policy that came down. There was confusion on both sides of everything, where they all read what they wanted to read into it, and somehow a lot of it was not even what we actually did. So that is consistently coming up, and I think if we don't improve it, we actually create a lot more work for our administrators and our principals and our teachers, because it is really important to improve. ESC, EL, staffing, that just keeps coming up in every school. And just how do we recruit and retain? How do we do better than our peers? I know that's an ongoing issue, but it continues to come up in those school visits. And it really is important that we stay on top of it, because I don't know if it's getting better anytime soon. And the other one is, there are a few schools that have stood out. I have heard great things about Conway, even though I haven't visited. But I think it was Village Park, maybe, was the one that came up for me, who use a lot of kind of trauma-informed discipline work and positive behavior support, or PBIS, in kind of mitigating discipline issues, and it seems to be working. They measure it based on how many kids are actually getting referrals and how many kids are getting in trouble, and it does work. So I would love, as we think about the task force and what else that we do, highlight some of the schools that are getting it right.
Thank you. I was cued in next, so I'm just going to emphasize kind of whatever my fellow board members have stated. The communication, it tends to, when we're trying to give directive either to the school districts or to the parents, we do tend to go to that legal ease, and that's fine if we want to incorporate the statute or list out the statute, but we've got to put it in layman's term. We've got to explain, we have to explain our expectations and explain it in a way that everybody can understand, so that it's not confusing. And we do have a habit of going to common terms that are very common for us, but not common for others. And I think the perfect example of that was group restrooms. We took that from SREF, because group restrooms is what SREF refers to as multi-stalled bathrooms. But it's the school. Yes, yes, and it does stand for something. Thank you, Karen, for calling me out on that, because now I don't remember. Yeah. But it's, anyways. It's another example of the jargon. Yeah, it's another example of the jargon that only we know what we're talking about. So we do need to be a little bit more explicit and a little bit more self-explanatory when in our communications. And I do want to bring up ESC. I know that we've come a long way. Well, those will disagree with me. I think Mrs. Ivory's doing a great job of the ESC. We still have a lot of work to do. We still have many problems. And I feel like, and I don't know how to tackle this, but I feel like we're in this push and pull situations, especially in our IEP, where we're too busy trying to prove that we're right, or we're frustrated with maybe the advocate
And we're losing sight of what's important, and that's our students. And we're losing sight at the end of the day. We have IEPs put in place because we need to make sure that that child gets the best high quality education that we can provide. And we need to act more as a team with our parents to ensure that education. And I don't know that we always do that. I received several phone calls just last week alone, about IEP meetings and what happens in IEP meetings and the misbehavior that goes on. It's like a reality show sometimes, and I don't know how we get to a better place. But if we could just try to get there, because there's going to be check and balances on both sides. It's not just OCPS, but at the end of the day, there's a student at the end of that IEP. And as I said to Mrs. Ivory on the phone, I said, I don't care. I don't care if someone's hostile. I don't care. At the end of the day, I care what are we doing for that child? And how are we ensuring that that child's needs are being met? And how are we working together in tandem with the parents to ensure that happens, and the teachers? And so I want to commend, because I do think that we're in a better place, but I still think that we have a ways to go, and we're just not getting there fast enough. And so I don't have all the solutions, but I did want to bring that up and maybe challenge all of us to see what we can do to ensure that these IEPs are better. I sat in on an IEP once. I'll never do it again. Only because it caused more friction by me being on that call as a board member than it was helpful. And I was there to be helpful. I made a promise to a parent that I would be on it. It was recommended to me by legal counsel to not be on that IEP, and I said nope. I gave my word, so I got on it, and it was not helpful. But just the way that we communicate, like in that one short IEP meeting, the way that we talk to people and the way that other people, like we talk one way and then they're talking back because we're talking one way. I just don't think it has to be that way. I think that we could do better and be nicer and kinder. And so I wanted to throw that out there because it's been bothering me for a while. So I will stop with that and recognize Member Gould.
Madam Chair, real quick, it's the state requirement for educational facilities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's the group that she was referring to. Just to follow up, especially for our new board members, we actually have a communications committee that's been on a little bit of hiatus during the election season and things, but there's a lot that has come down the pike. Now, most of the in-route communications are handled by our OCPS communication team, but there is a role that we can play in resources. So I am going to ask that we have a communication committee meeting set up in the near term and review what is available, what is done en route with our wonderful team here at OCPS, but how we can help share, some of the factual information, some of the board highlights, and then where appropriate, our opinions. So.
Thank you, Member Gould. Are there any members that would like to agenda policy level issues for discussion at a future work session? To the members of the board.
If you'd like to reorganize the list of policies that I gave you, please let me know individually and we'll move them up. I've moved a couple up based on some feedback that I had, but I sent you those policies, and if there's any others you want to add, because I think I had 30 some on there, right? Well, you have 250 some, so, the 30 list was next priority. You really have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Enval. We'll see no further discussion. I am going to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Great job, Angie. Yes. Okay.